The Gamers, Kyla's Rescue, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 4. Sky let herself back into Kyla's locker, searching the small living space again for anything she may have missed. She pulled out all her drawers, went through her inventory list, and found nothing missing, nothing even out of place. She would have left something to let her know where she was, or at least that she was safe, but Sky found nothing. She sat on Kyla's bed and crossed her legs to scan the room once again. What was she missing? Her mind raced until it finally settled on the truth, felt a rush of alarm. She hadn't missed anything. All of Kyla's things were present, accounted for, and in their right places. Why had she gone on a multi-day special project and taken nothing with her? Kyla's words came back to her mind. They keep medicating me. Since she was not able to earn an internship, Sky had never and would never be on a special testing project. Was the use of medications normal? There hadn't been any on any training project she'd worked. There was a way to find out. She reached for the communication unit, tapped the number she worked so hard to never have to call. Department of Services, how may I direct your call? Sky tried to speak, but her body refused to say the word she dreaded. Hello? Is someone there? Yeah, sorry, Career Center, please. One moment. Music followed. Sky took a deep breath to work up the courage to do what she knew she needed to do. Plus, if medications were used on special projects, it would be helpful in the future if locating her or providing healing aid was needed. Not just to her, the others as well. Career Center, my name is Marge. I will send you information on all your options. Please review all information before making your decision. Once you confirm your selection, it cannot be changed. Will you be at this number for? I want to sign up for the healing services, please. Sky interrupted, already knowing what she needed to do. Silence on the line. Sky checked the panel. Yep, she was still connected to the office. What happened to Marge? I cannot recommend enough going through the literature thoroughly before making this decision. I understand and thank you for your recommendation. However, I have already decided. Silence again. If you insist, Marge finally resigned. May I get your name? Here it comes. Sky braced herself. Sky Renaud Dule, she said, knowing her voice print would confirm her words. Slight gasp, followed by a muffled laugh. There it was. I caution you, Miss Rano Dooley, the healing services are not equipped for foundling. The voice made a clear fake cough. Excuse me. I mean, founder facilities. May I recommend the security services? They have the most up to date facilities to meet your unique needs. Sky's mind translated that into the biggest inventory of comfortable couches. I understand. I still choose the healing services, please. Sky faintly heard a muffled, "What a dumbass," before Marge confirmed the assignment. Sky gave the attestation that she understood the decision was not reversible or changeable, and that she made the decision of her own free will and choice. Very well, Miss Randall Dooley. When would you like to start? Tomorrow. Sky sounded calm, very accustomed to hiding when she was feeling anxiousness, dread, or embarrassment, all of which she was feeling now. Silence. Sky rolled her eyes. Marge seemed committed to making every request a debate. You know you have up to 6 months to report to your first day, right? At least she wasn't using her fake professional tone and wording anymore. Yep, Sky answered. Oh, for the potentate's sake, fine. Your personal shuttle is on its way. We'll pick you up at your current building and will take you to your assigned apartment. Your unit is the entire top floor, and information on your assigned healing counselor will be available through your communication panel whenever you feel ready. How early may I arrive tomorrow? Another muffled sound of, "What is wrong with this girl?" followed by, "Your assigned counselor arrives at 9 a.m." Thank you, Marge. You've been very helpful, Sky stated as she reached to end the connection. Was I, though? She caught right before the line was cut. Kyla screamed. Fire shot through her veins as the medication they used to wake her up overrode the medication they used to subdue her. Rough hands grabbed at her, dragging her into the other room and forcing her into the chair, restraints instantly secured. Her mind swam, eyes fought to focus. She needed to get her bearings or they would give her another dose. Her hands flexed against the restraints, reaching for the controls so they'd be ready once the order was given. She felt the controls. Fingers settled into the right place, and she took a breath to calm herself. A hand grabbed her hair and yanked, forcing her to look the monster in the eyes again, the blackened eyes and the nose that was cut and swollen. She knew she wounded him that night in her locker. She willed him to take off the restraint so she could finish the job. A sharp sting across her left cheek, then she tasted metal. She could tell he was yelling at her, but the medication made his words sound far away and warbled. It didn't matter. She knew what he wanted, and only recently learned she could actually do it. She'd finally been able to find Sky, who promised she was on her way, and Kyla prayed she'd given Sky enough information to find her. Until then, she needed to stall. What they were having her do, there was no way they would let her live when she completed it. The session had ended. Kyla lay limp in her simulation chair after her most recent dose. Trall directed the large men to move her back to her room. His eyes still darkened and aching, unable to breathe out of his nose, he limped over to the desk reviewing the work Kyla had just completed. They were getting close, but she was still unable to get past the last few blocks. He needed to push her harder. He knew she feared him, saw it in her eyes every time they woke her, knew she would do what he demanded, but it was taking too much time. Once he got what he needed, getting rid of her would be the easiest part. By the time anyone thought to ask about what happened to an unimpressive newling, there wouldn't be any traces to follow. He watched the Baron follow the unconscious girl being carried into the room. The man had the nerve to gently brush hair away from her face and run a finger down her cheek. Trall's hand clenched, arm raised and lowered to the desk and pressed. The planet's leader was proving to be more of a hindrance to his project, making him regret including him in the plan, but he had needed his access card. Luckily, since she was a newling, she hadn't had to worry anyone would be looking for her. He just needed to concentrate on motivating her to do exactly what he needed. She looks so much like her mother, Baron Moray admitted sorrowfully as he left her room. You mean the friend you betrayed? He reminded him between clenched teeth. The Baron looked at him, his face flushed red.
She wouldn't give me this position, said I wasn't suited for the responsibility.
He spat his excuse again. So, you betrayed her to get exactly what you wanted. Now you get to do the same thing to her daughter. He stripped away any ability for this man to wiggle out of responsibility for what he was doing. The Baron flinched like he'd been slapped. Trall's hand twitched. If only he actually could slap him. That thought brought a curled grin to his lips.
You make it sound so ugly.
The Baron mumbled while twisting his ruler's robes. Sky sipped her tea as she finished setting up the instructions for her new home. Mealtime set, her preferred foods entered, and menus sent to semi-random with her favorite dishes arranged once per month. Once she completed setting up her preferences, all her meals would be prepared and waiting for her to eat. Grocery lists sent and items delivered on schedule. Lighting settings, lists were set up for entertainment options she liked, and her voice command setting locked and secured. Her new wardrobe had arrived early that morning, waking her up, the items delivered through a reception unit on the roof and conveyed directly into her closet. She was dressed in clothes that weren't as exclusive as she was used to, but they were still nice. Her apartment had 3 bedrooms in case she ever married and decided to have children. She couldn't imagine putting any child through the embarrassment of having her as a mother, so that was off her life list. Maybe use them as a workout room and, oh, she didn't know, crafts? She had to figure out how to pass the time for the rest of her life, but first she had to find Kyla. She checked the time, 7:15 a.m. She had already eaten her breakfast, gotten dressed, just finished setting up her new home, and took another sip of her tea. She looked around the massive living room and the open kitchen. Her automated assistant had already sent the clothes from her parents' home to the specialty cleaners to be returned to them. Her home was clean. All items were where she wanted them, and soft music drifted to her ears. She drummed her fingers against the counter as she looked around for anything she could do until she could report to the healing center. Ah, screw it. She grabbed her bag and made her way to the balcony. The building was circular, and her outdoor space ran almost the complete circumference except for a gap at the north end where the lift tunnel broke the circle. Next to that was a small garage storing her personal cruiser. Sky slowed. Her only experience with a cruiser was in simulations, and none had gone well. She eased into the seat and waited for the spinning to start. The spinning never started. She braced herself and touched the controls. Still no spinning. She pressed the button to start the engine. It hummed to life. Her hands still didn't shake. I still saw everything clearly. She didn't feel the slightest amount of dizziness. Unwilling to push her luck at 130 stories in the air, she eased the controls forward, moved her cruiser out of the garage, and hovered over the balcony, and she was fine. That's weird, she thought before she eased forward and headed towards the healing center. Sky followed the directions to her counselor's office she'd received from the healer center's reception desk. When she reached the floor, it seemed busier than other floors, and she wandered through it to kill some time. People were rushing around, complaining that they hadn't been given enough time to prepare and that they never thought they'd have to worry about this issue. Why would one of them ever choose the healing service? Sky flinched the moment she realized she was the cause. Oh, her coworkers were going to hate her. She added that to the list of things she would worry about once she found Kyla and ignored her skin prickling as she approached the reception desk. A harried receptionist took several minutes to notice Sky was waiting. Sorry, dear, what is your ailment? Sky's stomach clenched, but she didn't let it show. No ailment. I'm here to see my healing counselor, Master Healer Kohore. The receptionist looked at her, then rolled her eyes and looked down at her screen. He'll need a few minutes, but I can already tell you we'll need a few days before your office will be ready. We need to allocate resources from the security services since you're the first founder to choose the healing services. I understand. I just wanted to get familiar with the center before I officially start. The receptionist flinched back, confused. Why? She snapped before collecting herself. Oh, that's nice. Sky just smiled and waited. Awkward silence stretched way too long, but Sky had gotten used to feeling uncomfortable. Apparently, the same could not be said for the receptionist. You know what? I'm sure your counselor would be happy to speak with you now. His office is 2 doors down on the right. She directed using hand signals in case Sky got confused by her words. Sky nodded, thank you, and made her way to the office. Master Healer Kahori was scanning records and updating his monitor. Sky knocked quietly at the door jamb, his head shot toward the opening. Hello, I'm Sky Ranadule. I understand you're my counselor. He smiled, but it looked more like a grimace. Yes, that's right. You didn't give us a lot of time to prepare for your arrival. I have some work to complete, and your office won't be ready for a few days. Would you mind coming back next week to give us a chance to prepare? Sky smiled. Sure. Would it be okay if I got all my passes and credentials since I'm here anyway? I also wanted to get familiar with the building. Sure. I'll send the authorization to the reception desk. See you next week. Sky nodded and made her way back to reception. She received her access card, signed all needed forms, and was issued her healer's code that would show she worked at the center. Finally, she had access to the resources she needed. She made her way to another floor where she wouldn't be recognized and that wasn't very busy. She found a terminal and quickly typed in Kyla of Maliak and waited. If she was being medicated, it would be in her record. She'd get the name of the healer administering her the medications. She could follow him to the testing center being used for the special project. Then she would have to figure out how to get her out, but one step at a time. Right now, she just needed to get Kyla's records. The monitor alerted. Sky expected to review her record. The screen flashed. Secured records room only. What the hell kind of special project was she on that they secured a newling's health records? Second question, how the hell was she going to be able to look at them now? She arrived on the floor where the secured records were kept. As she wandered the floor, she subtly watched and learned as much as she could about the process of checking out a secured record. There were a lot of policies and regulations she was going to have to work around, but she might have seen a way to do it from scanning the other floors. She ducked into the ladies' room, bunched her coat up several times to make it nicely wrinkled, messed her hair up, and made sure she looked sufficiently disheveled for her plan. She quickly wrote Kyla's name on a piece of paper and shoved it in her pocket to get it nice and crumpled. She activated a small trinket and tucked it in the pocket inside her healer coat. After she left the restroom, and she walked slowly toward the floor's reception desk. She borrowed a stack of files a healer had left there, but the receptionist hadn't noticed yet. She started to act frazzled and frantic as she approached the secured records office, accidentally dropping her access card when trying to scan, then accidentally dropping some of her files when she reached for it, and suddenly started to cry. The nice male healer behind her scanned his past and helped her with the files while keeping the access door open for her. She wiped away her tears and thanked him as she headed to the distribution desk. The records administrator already looked sympathetic to her plight. Sky hoped that was a good sign. By the guards, sweetie, looks like they are running you ragged. How can I help you? Asked the records keeper. She kept her chin quivering and let her words show a small part of the emotion she always kept to herself. I need to pick up a file. It's for, oh, wait a minute. She started looking through the files she held, then acted like she remembered and reached in her pocket. Her file, please. She put the paper on the desk and frantically tried to smooth out the crumpled mess with her only available hand. Here, let me, the administrator kindly offered. She took the paper and with both hands smoothed it out. Her eyebrows pulled together as she looked at the name. A newling? Is that wrong? Did I do something wrong? She let herself feel and sound hysterical. Looks like it, but let me check. She typed the name into the monitor, eyebrows then raised in surprise. Nope, her record is here. Give me a second. She disappeared into the back room. She fidgeted back and forth as she waited, almost relieved to be able to show even a little of the anxiety she nearly always felt but learned to hide. At least it was coming in handy finally. The administrator returned with a secured file and started to tap her monitor. I'm assuming her regular healer requested them? She asked for her report. Sky made herself even more anxious. Is he tall with like hair and maybe. Oh, I don't know. They have me assisting 5 healers and also lend me out to others. I just know I have to take it to the main floor. The administrator thought a moment. Oh, I'll just log it as her primary healer. He can track it from there. Sky let her relief show. May I get their name so I know where to take it? Of course, Healer Mathon. Hmm. Schedule says he's on vacation until next week, though. I recommend leaving the file with his assistant so they can track down who requested it. Sky's stomach sank. Why was every lead she tried sending her nowhere? What was she supposed to do now? She looked at the file. Originally, she was just going to get the healer's name and come up with a reason not to take it, but now it's all she had left. Thank you, she said simply. The administrator finished typing, scanned the record, and handed it to Sky. Now you can take this anywhere within the center, she advised and handed the record to Sky with a smile. She carefully took the record and tucked it under all the other files she was holding. Thank you so much, she said before she hurried out of the secured records office, as she would if her story had been true. She slipped the needed file into the bag under her healer's coat and replaced the remaining files on the desk where she had taken them. Then she changed floors and found another ladies' room. She turned off the trinket in her coat and returned it to her bag. She smoothed out her hair, took off her coat, and folded it over her bag. Now she had to figure out a way to get the file past the security checkpoint to leave the center. There were only a few things that would set off the alarms, and a secure file was definitely one of them. Luckily, she had just the thing. When her father let her take the bag from their home, he hadn't realized it was where she kept all her trinkets she'd been able to acquire when she was chosen for her training special projects. There was something in the bag that would help. She only had 3 of this particular trinket, but the circumstances made it worth sacrificing one of them. She tucked the trinket in her palm and readied herself for the exit. Sky casually browsed the healer tip brochures displayed at the wide welcome hall to the center. She waited until a small crowd had gathered at the exit before making her way there. She timed her steps to make sure she was behind someone carrying an easily accessible bag and slipped the trinket into the opening. She then started to look agitated and impatient. The person in front of her went through the scan, and exactly as she needed, the alarms went off. The poor man looked startled, and security gathered quickly. The man had turned over his bag and raised his arms for the search. The trinket she'd used camouflaged itself to disappear, and Sky knew they would never find it. She also knew it would take some time for them to finally decide their equipment was just malfunctioning. After the alarm went off for the 5th time, Sky knew it was time. Can I just go through? She asked as impatiently and rudely as she could muster. No, not until we reset the scanner. If you don't want to wait, you can switch to another line, one of the security officers offered. I'm not waiting in another line when I'm next. She held her ground and held out her access badge. Irritated, the security guard glanced at the badge. His eyes grew big a moment before he waved her through. Thank you, she said as obnoxiously as she could and exited the building. She walked quickly to her cruiser and left hoping nothing she had just done would ever be traced back to her. From the cruiser's console, she tapped the needed link and waited for him to answer. Hey, PPP, please tell me you changed your mind and are training right now. Sky flinched. I just got my access cards and finished the final paperwork for the healing services.
The what?
Oh, I can't even ask if you're crazy anymore because you clearly are, he said, the last words resigned. Sky smiled. Not crazy, just prone to punishing myself for what I've done to my family my whole life. Dinner tonight? You said you wanted to see my apartment. Sure. Is it as amazing as I think it is for a service worker? He asked. I don't know. It's the only one I've ever seen. You'll have to tell me. Bring your portable security kit. I want to compare it to the portable healer pack, she said as she glanced at the large pack she'd been issued as part of her equipment. She hoped he believed her reason, but she needed what was in his pack. I'm not even going to ask. Yes, I'll bring it. See you after my nap. Oops, I mean after my shift, he mumbled sarcastically. Sky chuckled. See you then.